Admiral Sarah Chen stood at the massive windows of the council chamber, her weathered hands clasped behind her back as she gazed at the swirling nebula beyond. After 30 years of representing humanity in this gilded cage they called galactic democracy, she had memorized every curve of that purple-hued cosmic dance, the same way she had memorized every condescending head tilt of the Arcanian delegate, every dismissive gesture from the Zixaphil collective. The council's position is non-negotiable, High Speaker Venathor announced, his crystalline form refracting light across the chamber. The quantum computing facilities on Mars, Europa, and Titan must be deactivated within 30 standard cycles. Sarah didn't turn around. Her reflection in the reinforced glass showed the same calm expression she'd maintained throughout the 6-hour session. Behind her, Earth's scientific advisor, Dr. James Rodriguez, cleared his throat. Those facilities represent 50 years of research. They're essential to our colony expansion projects. Precisely our concern, rumbled Council Member Zrax, his massive scaled form shifting in his reinforced seat. Your species' expansion rate already exceeds recommended parameters. Quantum computing would only accelerate this unfortunate trend. The chamber's atmospheric processors hummed softly, cycling through different atmospheric compositions for the dozen species present. Sarah found it oddly fitting. Even the air they breathed was regulated by council mandate. We followed every regulation. Lieutenant Commander Maria Santos interjected from her position at the data terminal. Our development path adheres to all established guidelines. High Speaker Venthor's crystalline surface rippled in what Sarah had learned was their equivalent of patronizing amusement. Guidelines designed to protect developing species from their own enthusiasm. Humanity's persistent attempts to circumvent these protections only demonstrate their necessity. Sarah finally turned, her motion deliberately slow. The council chamber spread before her in its full glory, tiered seating rising in elegant spirals, holographic displays shimming with data streams, ancient artifacts of 1,000 civilizations displayed in quantum-locked cases, all of it designed to remind newer species of their place in the grand scheme of things. Protect. The word fell from her lips softly, but something in her tone made several council members shift uneasily. Like you protected the Centaurians by denying them atmospheric processors during their environmental crisis, or the Proxima colonies during the stellar flare season. Those situations were regrettable, Council Member Zrax began. But the regulations. The regulations. Sarah's laugh caught everyone off guard. It was the first time in recorded history a human had laughed in formal council proceedings. Always the regulations. Tell me, High Speaker, when was the last time these regulations were updated? Venthor's surface clouded slightly. The Galactic Council's founding principles have served for 12,000 years. 12,000 years of stagnation. Dr. Rodriguez muttered, just loud enough to be heard. The chamber erupted in outraged murmurs. Sarah watched as her team exchanged glances. Lieutenant Santos' fingers hovered over her data terminal, ready to record yet another reprimand. Dr. Rodriguez adjusted his antique glasses, a deliberate anachronism that had always annoyed the council. And young diplomatic attaché Chen, Sarah's own grandson, sat with the straight-backed posture of someone who knew exactly what was coming. Sarah Chen, Admiral of Earth's diplomatic fleet, veteran of First Contact, and holder of the Council's Order of Distinguished Service, took 3 steps forward. Her movements, like her voice, carried the weight of centuries of human patience. High Speaker Venathor, honored council members, she began, her tone carrying neither anger nor submission. Humanity thanks you for your guidance over these past centuries. Then she did something unprecedented in council history. She turned her back on the assembly and walked toward the exit. One by one, her team rose and followed. No dramatic declarations, no threats, no bargaining. The silence they left behind was deafening. The merchant vessel Star Dreamer dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Sol's commercial zone, its Prevanian captain already rehearsing his usual haggling routine with the Earth traders. But where the busy lanes of human space traffic should have been, There was only void. Captain Zextal adjusted his sensory stalks, certain there must be some malfunction. Run another sweep, he chittered to his navigation officer. Their defense platforms should be visible at this range. Platforms are present, Captain, his officer responded, mandibles clicking nervously. But they're inactive. No challenge codes, no identification requests. Nothing. In his 20 cycles of running the Earth-Centauri trade route, Zextal had never seen anything like it. The humans were notorious for their strict traffic control protocols. A remnant, they claimed, of their early space age when orbital collisions had been a real concern. The ship's communications array pinged, not with the usual barrage of automated customs declarations and docking protocols, but with a single text-only message. Sol system is temporarily closed to non-emergency traffic. Please adjust your route accordingly. In orbit around Mars, the massive quantum research complex, pride of human scientific achievement, sat dark and silent. The thousands of researchers and support staff who normally crowded its halls had vanished overnight. Supply ships found their contracts suddenly suspended. Even the maintenance drones had been recalled. On Europa, beneath the icy surface where humans had built their most advanced deep space communication array, the lights still burned, but no signals came in or out. The few alien observers allowed on the moon reported an eerie sense of purpose in the facility's reduced staff. They moved with quiet efficiency, ignoring all attempts at conversation. The silence spread like a gravitational wave. Human colonies across dozen systems went dark simultaneously. Trade hubs emptied. Research outposts suspended operations. Even the notorious human entertainment channels, which normally flooded the galaxy with their movies and music, fell silent. In the council chambers, High Speaker Venathor received the reports with growing unease. "They're throwing a tantrum," he announced to the emergency session. "Like children denied a toy. Children don't coordinate across 50 light-years of space with this level of precision." Council members Rax countered, scales bristling. "My analysts report they're maintaining minimal life support and defensive systems only. Everything else, it's as if they've redirected all their resources to something else." "Impossible." Venthor's crystalline form pulsed with conviction. "We monitor their power grids, their resource allocation, their industrial output. They couldn't hide anything significant." In a darker corner of the chamber, the ancient Arxian observer shifted slightly. Its species had been old when the council was young, and they had learned to read the currents of history. "You assume," it whispered in its rattling voice, "that what we see is all there is." Deep in human space, behind layers of security that even the council didn't know existed, Admiral Chen stood in a very different control room. Holographic displays showed the rippling effect of humanity's synchronized withdrawal. The confusion, the speculation, the growing fear. "All sectors report ready," Lieutenant Santos announced, her voice carrying the weight of centuries of preparation. "Project Prometheus facilities are cycling up on schedule." Dr. Rodriguez looked up from his quantum terminal, antique glasses reflecting cascading data streams. "They still think we're sulking," he said with a hint of amusement. "All these years watching us, and they never understood." "Understanding requires respect," Sarah replied, watching the galaxy's reaction to humanity's silence. "They never respected us enough to truly see us." Young Attaché Chen, monitoring diplomatic channels, smiled slightly. "The Prevanian Trade Federation is already pressuring the council. They're losing millions in suspended contracts." Sarah nodded, remembering that day in the council chamber. The day humanity finally stopped playing by their rules. "Let them worry," she said softly. "Let them wonder. For centuries, they treated us like children learning to walk." She turned to face her team, her eyes reflecting the same quiet determination that had carried humanity through centuries of condescension. "It's time to show them we learned to fly instead." The underground facility on Titan stretched 17 kilometers beneath the moon's hydrocarbon seas, its existence completely hidden from council surveillance. Dr. Rodriguez walked through pristine white corridors that had, until now, been staffed only by maintenance drones and a skeleton crew of the most trusted scientists humanity had to offer. Today, those corridors hummed with activity. Scientists and engineers from every human world had converged here, each bringing pieces of a puzzle that had been centuries in the making. Section 7 is fully operational, announced Dr. Maya Patel, her holographic form flickering as she reported from Europe. Quantum entanglement networks are synchronized across all Prometheus US sites. Rodriguez nodded, passing through a security checkpoint where his neural patterns were scanned for the 100th time that day. The Council thought they knew about human biotechnology, approved neural interfaces, basic genetic modifications. They had no idea that humanity had cracked the code of consciousness transfer decades ago. The Council's still trying to access our quantum facilities on Mars, Lieutenant Santos reported, her voice coming through his neural link. Their probe ships are being politely but firmly redirected. The main chamber of Project Prometheus opened before him, a vast spherical space filled with technology that would make the Council's most advanced scientists question their understanding of physics. Suspended in the center, a crystalline lattice of dark matter channels pulsed with possibilities. Receiving confirmation from Luna Base, called out Dr. Chen, the Admiral's grandson now serving as chief coordinator. The gravitic pulse network is primed. We can shut down any drive system in Council space with zero collateral damage. Rodriguez approached one of the primary control interfaces, his hand hovering over the quantum blast display. Begin final diagnostic sequence, he ordered. All stations, prepare for full spectrum reveal. The chamber erupted in synchronized activity. This was what humanity had been building toward since their first contact with the Council. Not the approved technologies, not the carefully measured progress they'd been allowed to show. This was the true face of human innovation. In sealed chambers across human space, revolutionary propulsion systems spun to life. Drives that didn't push against space, but folded it. Quantum computers far more advanced than the ones the Council had tried to shut down began processing at speeds that made their alien counterparts look primitive. Neural network achieving consensus, reported Dr. Patel. All 100 billion human minds are now linked and aware. Another secret the Council had never suspected. Every human neural interface was part of a vast, distributed consciousness, not merged, not controlled, but united in purpose while maintaining their individuality. It had taken generations to perfect, to find the balance between connection and autonomy. Admiral Chen is ready to initiate final sequence, Santos announced. All systems are go. Rodriguez took a deep breath, remembering all the years of hiding, of playing the dutiful developing species, of watching other races suffer under Council restrictions, while humanity secretly worked to free them all. Project Prometheus was never about fire, he said softly, his words carried to every human in the network. It was about knowledge, about the right of every species to grow, to develop, to reach their full potential. The crystalline lattice in the center of the chamber began to pulse faster, dark matter channels aligning with similar structures on every human world. The technology they were about to reveal would reshape galactic civilization. Clean energy that could power worlds, medical advances that could save dying species, transportation systems that would make the galaxy feel small. Initiating revelation sequence, Rodriguez announced. All stations, prepare for synchronized power-up. Across human space, hidden facilities that had masqueraded as everything from storage depots to entertainment complexes shed their camouflage. The darkness that had fallen over human worlds lifted, revealing not silence but transformation. In the Titan facility's main chamber, Rodriguez watched as the final pieces fell into place. Humanity had waited centuries for this moment, developing not in the linear path the Council demanded, but in every direction at once. Project Prometheus is online, he announced, his voice carrying to every human in existence. Let there be light. The Council's Strategic Defense Center was considered the most secure facility in known space. built into an artificial planetoid, shielded by technologies developed over millennia. It coordinated the defense networks of 200 species across 12,000 systems. High Speaker Venathor stood in the master control chamber, his crystalline form vibrating with increasing distress as system after system went dark. "Impossible," he whispered, watching as the holographic representation of the galaxy's defense grid faded like stars at dawn. "The fail-safes. All failing simultaneously," reported the Zexel technician, their neural clusters pulsing with agitation. "No errors, no attacks detected. The systems are simply stopping." In orbit around 1,000 worlds, automated defense platforms powered down with gentle precision. Planetary shields deactivated without triggering a single alarm. Quantum communication networks fell silent without disrupting a single critical message. "The humans," Council member Zrax growled, his massive form casting shadows in the emergency lighting. "It has to be. But how? Their technology is centuries behind." A new presence filled the chamber, neither hologram nor physical form. Admiral Chen's voice emerged from every speaker, every console, every neural interface simultaneously. "Behind." The word carried centuries of patient amusement. "No, Council member. We were never behind. We simply chose a different path." The master display flickered to life, showing not the defense grid but a comprehensive map of human technological development. Not the linear progression the Council had tracked, but a vast web of interconnected advances spreading in all directions at once. "While you pushed species to develop step by step," Chen continued, "we explored every possibility simultaneously. When you blocked one path, we developed 10 others. When you restricted one technology, we found 12 alternative approaches." Across Council space, species watched in awe as their mighty defense systems were shut down with surgical precision. No chaos, no accidents, no collateral damage. Just the quiet demonstration of power so advanced it appeared effortless. In the Strategic Defense Center, Venthor's surface clouded with realization. The quantum computing facilities, they were a distraction. A small part of a much larger whole, Chen confirmed. One we were prepared to reveal. "Tell me, High Speaker, did you ever wonder why we accepted your restrictions so quietly? Why we never pushed back against your guidance until now?" Through his neural link, Zrax received reports from across Council space. Human ships had appeared near every major world, ships unlike anything in Council records. They took no aggressive action. They simply waited, their presence a quiet reminder of how much humanity had hidden. "What are your demands?" Venthor asked, his voice carrying the weight of a civilization discovering it wasn't as advanced as it had believed. For a moment, silence filled the chamber. When Chen spoke again, her voice carried not triumph but determination. "Look at your screens," she said softly. The displays came alive with data. Medical breakthroughs that could save dying species, energy systems that could revive dead worlds, transportation technologies that would render distance meaningless. "These are not demands," Chen continued. "These are gifts. Technologies we developed while you thought we were playing catch-up. Advances we could have used to dominate, but chose to perfect instead." Dr. Rodriguez's voice joined hers, emanating from the quantum processors the Council had thought were their most advanced technology. "We didn't develop in secret to conquer you. We did it to free everyone, including you, from the chains of regulated progress." Around every Council world, the human ships began broadcasting on all frequencies. Not threats or ultimatums, but technical specifications, scientific papers, engineering schematics. Everything humanity had developed in secret, freely shared. "You tried to teach us to crawl," Chen said, her words echoing through the stunned silence of the defense center. "Instead, we learned to soar. The only question is, will you soar with us?" In the depths of space, humanity's hidden potential finally unfurled its wings. In the ancient archives beneath the Council chamber, the Arxian observer moved through stacks of quantum-stored data, its ancient form casting long shadows in the dim light. Around it, the Council's most prominent scientists pored over centuries of human development reports, desperately seeking the moment they had missed something crucial. It was always there, the Archean whispered, its voice carrying the weight of millennia. In every failed experiment, every discarded approach, every technological dead end. Dr. Nixus, lead researcher of the successful collective, manipulated a holographic display showing humanity's approved development path. Their quantum computing progress followed our projected course perfectly. How could they have hidden an entire parallel development structure? The answer materialized in the form of Admiral Chen's grandson, who stepped from a previously invisible portal in the archives corner. The gathered scientists recoiled, their security systems having detected nothing. You assumed, young Chen said quietly, that failure meant the end of exploration. He waved his hand, and the holographic display expanded, showing not one path, but thousands, each branching from points the Council had marked as failed experiments. When our first attempts at quantum computing failed to match Council standards, he continued, you assumed we would wait until we reached the proper developmental stage. Instead, those failures inspired us to ask different questions. The display shifted, showing how each failed human technology had spawned dozens of alternative approaches. Where the Council saw dead ends, humanity had seen doorways. Your gravity manipulation attempts showed no progress for decades, Dr. Nixus noted, their neural clusters pulsing with dawning understanding. Because you were pursuing. What exactly? Everything. Young Chen smiled. While you watched us experimenting with traditional gravity fields, we were exploring quantum entanglement, dark matter manipulation, and dimensional folding simultaneously. When one path hit a Council restriction, we simply focused official attention there while pursuing the others in secret. The Archean's ancient form shifted, its sensory organs taking in the full scope of human innovation displayed before them. Not linear progress, it rasped, but exponential exploration. More holograms filled the archive, showing how humanity had approached each technological challenge from multiple angles simultaneously. Failed medical treatments led to breakthroughs in genetic engineering. Unsuccessful propulsion experiments sparked innovations in energy generation. Every setback contained the seeds of multiple advances. But the resources required. Another scientist protested. The energy signatures alone would have been detected. The Admiral's grandson gestured, revealing how humanity had masked their true energy consumption. We learned to hide our work inside natural phenomena, to disguise power usage as background radiation, to conduct experiments in parallel dimensions where your sensors couldn't reach. Dr. Nixus studied the display showing humanity's true development web. This isn't just technological advancement, they whispered. This is evolution of thought itself. Precisely. Young Chen's eyes gleamed. While you taught species to climb the same ladder in the same way, we built wings, tunnels, and quantum bridges. We didn't reject your path. We simply refused to be limited by it. The Archean moved closer to the human, its ancient form radiating curiosity. The patience this required. To maintain this deception for centuries while advancing in secret. Why? Chen's expression softened. Because true progress can't be forced or restricted. It has to grow naturally, in all directions at once. We hid our advancement not out of fear or ambition, but because we needed to prove that regulated development was fundamentally flawed. The archives hummed with energy as more data poured in from human space, centuries of hidden research, millions of parallel developments, countless breakthroughs that had been carefully concealed until this moment. Your species, the Archean observed, chose to bear the weight of appearing primitive so that all species might eventually advance freely. Young Chen nodded, looking at the vast web of human innovation spreading across the displays. We didn't develop in secret to prove our superiority, he said softly. We did it to show that every species has the potential to find their own path to the stars. In the depths of the archive, surrounded by the accumulated knowledge of 1,000,000 worlds, the true nature of humanity's revolution became clear. The Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Council had never been so full. Representatives from every known species crowded the tiered seating, their varied forms creating a living tapestry of galactic diversity. In the center of it all, Admiral Chen stood on the speaker's platform, her simple human form drawing every eye in the vast chamber. "We did not come here to dictate terms," she began, her voice carrying to every corner of the hall. "We came to propose a new way forward." Behind her, a holographic display materialized, showing not the traditional hierarchical structure of council space, but an intricate web of interconnected worlds and species. For 12,000 years, the Council has guided developing species along a single path, she continued. That path has brought stability, yes, but it has also brought stagnation. Evolution demands diversity, not just in life, but in thought and development. High Speaker Venthor's crystalline form shimmered with barely contained emotion, and your solution is to simply abandon millennia of proven methodology. No. Dr. Rodriguez stepped forward, his antique glasses reflecting the light of 1,000 worlds. Our solution is to embrace all methodologies. The holographic display shifted, showing how human technological advancement had branched and evolved. But now, alongside it, appeared the potential paths of other species, each unique, each valuable. The Zexiful Collective excels at neural network development, Rodriguez explained. The Prevailians have an intuitive understanding of quantum mechanics that we've barely begun to grasp. The Centaurians see patterns in spatial geometry that could revolutionize transportation. Lieutenant Santos stepped up, her neural interface connecting with the chamber systems. We propose a galactic innovation network, not to restrict development, but to support it. To let each species advance along the paths that suit them best, while sharing knowledge that benefits all. The chamber erupted in murmurs as the implications became clear. Centuries of restricted development had created deep specializations within each species. If those specializations were allowed to develop freely and combine, impossible, council members' racks rumbled. The potential for weapons development alone is precisely why we revealed our advancement the way we did, Chen interrupted. We demonstrated that superior technology doesn't have to lead to domination. We had the power to disable your defenses, yet we chose to protect every ship, every station, every life in the process. Young Hitachi Chen activated another display, showing the immediate benefits of human innovation already being implemented across council space. Dying worlds revitalized by new energy systems. Incurable diseases being conquered by parallel developed medical techniques. Ancient environmental damage being reversed by technologies the Council had deemed impossible. We offer everything, Admiral Chen said softly. All our advances, all our discoveries, all our parallel development techniques, freely shared with one condition. The chamber fell silent, every being waiting for humanity's demand. That you do the same. She smiled. Not because we require it, but because sharing knowledge is the fastest path to universal advancement. The Arxian observer, present for the first time in centuries of council proceedings, moved its ancient form into the light. You would trust species you barely know with technologies that could threaten your existence. Trust is advancement, Dr. Rodriguez replied. You can't truly progress while hiding behind walls of fear. Admiral Chen raised her hand, and a holographic display expanded to encompass the entire chamber, surrounding every being present with visions of possible futures. Not one path, but millions. Not controlled development, but guided cooperation. The Council's greatest fear was that unrestricted development would lead to chaos, she said. We're not proposing chaos. We're proposing evolution. Natural, unrestricted, beautiful evolution of thought and technology. In the silence that followed, the weight of 12,000 years of tradition pressed against the promise of unlimited potential. The choice between the safe, known path and the wild, promising unknown. The universe is too vast for any one species to have all the answers, Chen concluded. But together, we might find questions we never knew to ask. The HFY Academy of Higher Learning buzzed with unprecedented activity. In lecture halls designed for a single species, dozens of different beings gathered to learn, share, and discover. Dr. Nixis watched from their elevated platform as a young human researcher excitedly explained quantum entanglement theory to a group of Prevailian students, while nearby, a Centaurian mathematician helped an Earth physicist understand 11-dimensional calculus. They learned so differently, Nixis observed to Admiral Chen, who stood beside them watching the exchange of knowledge. Yet somehow, it works. Because they're not trying to learn the same way, Chen replied. Look there. She pointed to a corner where several species were attempting to understand Archean temporal mechanics. Each approached the problem differently. The humans through practical application, the Prevailians through quantum theory, the Centaurians through spatial mathematics. Through the Academy's vast windows, the stars shone brighter than ever. Ships of mixed species crews zipped between worlds, carrying not just goods but ideas. The rigid lanes of council space had transformed into a vibrant network of cultural and technological exchange. We're receiving reports from the experimental colonies, Lieutenant Santos announced, approaching with a quantum tablet. The combined application of hexacephal neural networks and human parallel development techniques has accelerated terraforming by 300%. In another part of the Academy, Dr. Rodriguez stood before a wall of holographic displays showing development paths of various species. Where once there had been a single approved line of progression, now there were countless intersecting paths, each unique, each valuable. The Council feared this would lead to chaos. He mused to the Archean observer who had become a regular presence at the Academy. Instead, it's creating a new kind of order. The ancient being's form shifted thoughtfully, not order imposed from above, but order emerging from natural interaction, like the evolution of the universe itself. A commotion near the center of the main hall drew their attention. A young Prevailian researcher had just successfully merged their species' quantum insights with human parallel processing techniques. The result was a computational breakthrough that neither species could have achieved alone. That's the 7th major breakthrough this week, Santos noted, checking her neural feed. And it's only 3rd day. High Speaker Venthor, who had taken to visiting the Academy regularly, despite his initial reservations, watched the celebration with his crystalline form reflecting the various light patterns of different species' joy. We thought we were protecting them, he said quietly to Chen. All these centuries, we thought we were preserving order. Instead, you were holding back the natural flow of progress, Chen finished. But you also preserved these species until they were ready for this moment. Your caution wasn't wrong, just incomplete. Around them, the Academy hummed with the energy of unrestricted innovation. In one room, a mixed species team had just cracked the code for stable micro-wormholes by combining 3 different mathematical approaches. In another, a revolutionary medical treatment emerged from the merger of Centaurian spatial theory and human genetic science. The most remarkable thing, Dr. Nixis observed, their neural clusters pulsing with excitement, is how quickly they're all adapting. It's as if every species was just waiting for permission to think differently. Young Attaché Chen, monitoring the Academy's knowledge network, smiled as another wave of breakthroughs cascaded across his display. They were, just like we were, all those centuries ago. Everyone has their own path to the stars. They just needed the freedom to find it. As the day cycle wound down, Admiral Chen stood at the same kind of window she had gazed through in the council chamber so long ago. But now, instead of a reminder of confinement, the view of space represented unlimited potential. We didn't just change how species develop technology, she said to her assembled team. We changed how they see themselves and each other. The stars sparkled with new possibility, and in the crowded halls of the Academy, the future was being rewritten not by one species or method, but by the combined creativity of a galaxy finally free to evolve in its own unique way. One standard year after humanity's revelation, The galaxy gathered to commemorate what many now call the Awakening. The ceremony took place not in the traditional council chambers, but in Earth's oldest space station, a testament to how far humanity had come from its first tentative steps into the void. Admiral Chen stood at the podium, her weathered face reflecting the light of 1,000 worlds visible through the station's transparent dome. The assembled audience represented every known species, but they no longer sat in hierarchical tiers. Instead, they mingled freely, their differences celebrated rather than regulated. A year ago, she began, we showed you what humanity had hidden. Today, we stand in awe of what you have all achieved since then. The main holographic display activated, showing a spiral galaxy filled with points of light. Each point represented a breakthrough, a collaboration, a step forward that would have been impossible under the old system. In 1 year, Dr. Rodriguez continued, stepping up beside Chen. We've seen more advancement than the previous century, not because humanity showed the way, but because every species was finally free to find their own path. The display zoomed in on specific achievements. The Prevailian human quantum gates that had reduced interstellar travel time by 90%. The HFY Centaurian neural mapping system that had revolutionized consciousness transfer. The combined efforts of 7 species that had finally cracked the code of stable artificial gravity. But the greatest achievement, Lieutenant Santos added, her neural interface connecting with the station's systems to show more data, isn't technological. It's the change in how we see ourselves and each other. The images shifted to show scenes from across the galaxy, mixed species crews exploring uncharted space, cultural exchange programs that had spawned new forms of art and music, children of different species learning together, each approaching problems in their unique way. Young Hitachi Chen stepped forward, his presence a reminder of the new generation that would grow up in this transformed galaxy. When humanity revealed our true capabilities, many feared it would lead to dominance. Instead, it led to partnership. The Arxian Observer, now a permanent member of the new Galactic Innovation Network, moved its ancient form into the light. In all our millennia of watching species develop, we never imagined this path. You didn't just break free from restriction. You showed us all how to fly. High Speaker Venthor, his crystalline form now modified with human quantum computing elements, addressed the gathering. We feared chaos would destroy civilization. Instead, freedom has made it stronger than ever. Dr. Nixus, representing the transformed successful collective, added their perspective. Every species now develops along their natural path, yet we're more united than ever. The Council sought to prevent conflict through control. Humanity showed us how to prevent it through cooperation. Admiral Chen raised her hand, and the station's dome transformed into a vast display, showing the entire known galaxy. Not as separate territories or regulated zones, but as a living network of interconnected potential. 1 year ago, she said softly, humanity stopped pretending to be less than we were. Today, we all stand as exactly what we are. Unique, valuable, essential parts of a greater whole. The display zoomed out further, showing the infinite darkness beyond known space. But now, that darkness didn't represent restriction or limitation. It represented unlimited potential, waiting to be explored by a civilization that had learned to embrace all paths to the stars. The moment humanity snapped, Chen concluded, wasn't the end of an era. It was the beginning of something far greater. We didn't just break free from chains we'd worn for centuries. We broke free from the idea that chains were necessary at all. As the ceremony concluded, the assembled beings looked out at the star-filled void with new eyes. The Council's regulated paths had kept the peace for 12,000 years. But now the combined creativity and wisdom of every species promised something far greater than mere peace. It promised a future where every path to the stars was valid, where every approach to understanding the universe was valued, and where the combined potential of all species could finally reach for the infinite. The day humanity snapped had become the day the galaxy soared.